All right, man. It's the belief that Andre Drummond may now opt into his player option if he remains in Detroit. Let's talk about it. We back, Mercy Sports Talk. Appreciate the love, support from Chris Middix in the Sports Illustrated. So this may be even more urgency for the Detroit Pistons to trade Andre Drummond. If he opts into his player option, it's $28 million, or almost $29 million next season. And they're in the same predicament because he only has 1 year left on his contract next year if he opts in. So at the end of the day, I'm not sure legally can he opt in before getting traded, or that's an option that has to be made after the season. But, it would help if he can opt in right now and the team can have him at least for a season and a half. Because one of the difficult things about trading Andre Drummond is that teams don't know if he will opt in next year. But right now, I think he's seeing with the Pistons putting him on the trade market that the market is not going to be there for him. What he's getting right now is probably, he's lucky to get that next year if he goes into the free agent market. So he's seeing that there's really no market for Andre Drummond right now as far as a supermax player, let alone a $30 million player a year, So right now, I think the Pistons have shown Andre Drummond that, I don't know if it's intentionally or these are their intentions, but they shown him the market. So Drummond's so happy to go into free agency, but there's no real market for him. And it's just not him. There's no market for Steven Adams. There's no market for Miles Turner. There's no market for, a lot of the big fellas that really want that money. The center position is dying. If you're not a Swiss Army knife like Davis or Karl Anthony Towns or guys like that, then, the NBA really is trying to, erase the center from the NBA game. You know what I'm saying? So the centers that play in the post or control the paint and dunk and control the rim on the defensive side of the floor, they dinosaurs. You know what I'm saying? So the Pistons fear that Drummond may opt in next year, if he kept on the roster. So according to Chris Middix, and if he does opt in, then they saying it's making it hard for a rebuild when you got almost $70 million tied up between him and Blake Griffin. And then you say, well, shouldn't they just trade Blake Griffin, wait till next year and trade Andre Drummond? If they are in talks to trade Lou Kennard and they considering trade Langston Galloway, Markieff Morris, Reggie Jackson come off the books this year, and they looking to trade them. I think what the Pistons are trying to do, and they waiting to the very, very last minute to do so, I think they're trying to tank the rest of this season. I think they're going to throw out Diambo, Christian Woods out there, Bruce Brown, or whoever they decide to keep out there. And obviously Blake Griffin is done for the season. They don't want to admit it, but they got the injured trade player exception for $9.2 million, whatever it was. So I think the Pistons are trying to tank down the back half of the season. So I expect Dre to be traded. If it's for the high, if it's for the low, if it's for the middle, will they get equal compensation for him? Is the question, and I know there's really never no equal compensation for a player in the trade. Shaq, that trade didn't look that equal for LA. You keep going on, and you really don't see a lot of equal compensation trades when you're talking about high-profile players like Andre Drummond. But the fear is if they keep Andre Drummond, is that he's going to opt in because he's not going to get $28-30 million on the market as a free agent. So the Pistons are really in rebuild mode. The problem that you have with the Pistons in rebuild mode is that who really pulling the strings? They don't have a general manager. Stefanowski is an advisor. Malik Rose is learning under him as an assistant general manager. They don't really have leadership. They brass. So, Jeff Bowers, Jordan Bowers, whatever his name was, and Stan Van Gundy, who was called in the game last night in LA with the Spurs, they really messed up this team. You know what I'm saying? Traded all the assets away, and it hasn't worked. So the Pistons come into 2020, a new decade, looking to wipe the slate clean. So I think they're gonna tank down the back half of the season, but it's a situation where they may not make no deal. We around 24 hours away from the trade deadline. So how many deals can get made? So they know not going to get traded together. Luke Kennard, Langston Galloway, Andre Drummond, Markieff Morris, all these dudes not going to get traded in one deal. So the Pistons have to be working with 3 or 4 teams to get these deals done. And when you wait to the last minute, only 2 things can happen. Either a team can get desperate and they can pay you more or give you more compensation than you actually was asking for because they really in the bind and they need a particular player, or you sell them for the low, just to get them off the roster and tank. So this is what happened when you go down the last minute road. But now it's even more urgency that you trade Andre Drummond, knowing that you don't want him in the organization, knowing that you don't want to pay him $30 million next year, knowing that he may opt into that contract next year, knowing that you want to rebuild, and it's going to be hard to rebuild when you have Blake making almost $40 and Drummond making around almost $30 million next year. It's going to be hard. Real hard. So now it's even more pressure for them to make a deal. I heard they talked to the Clippers. The Hawks got their guy, Clint Capella, now. They traded for him in a 12-player trade. I mean, Boston, they lost out on the Clint Capella trade. So, the suitors are getting slimmer and slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. And then you also look at other teams that's having fire sales too. You know what I'm saying? You're looking at D'Angelo Russell. They trade him. Minnesota, they trying to make some deals. Oklahoma City Thunder, they have a lot of players. Every player on their team is available. They haven't moved not one player. So there haven't been a lot of movement, just a lot of talks, a lot of rumors the last few months in the NBA. And the 12-player deal with Houston, Denver, and Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? That really wasn't a huge deal, but maybe you get the ball rolling. But, how many teams think they already there as a championship contender is the question. But I really in my soul, I really don't think it's gonna be too many much movement. I can see the Pistons keeping their roster intact and Drummond opting in the contract when he said he was going to opt out. I can see that in the Pistons kind of being the same team going into the offseason and possibly trying to move some players in the offseason. It's getting extremely late. The trade deadline ends tomorrow, like at 2 p.m., 4 p.m., or whatever the situation may be. But remember, it is the last-minute league. But like I said before, Drummond is actually starting to see, like, there's really not a lot of value out there for players like you. You know what I'm saying? It's not this supermax value. You see, wings like Buddy Hield and Jaylen Brown, they get a max deal. You see a guy like Gordon Hayward get a max deal for their age range. And he looking like, Bradley Beal got all this money, and I made probably more All-Star games than him, All-Star games than him. They gave John Wall all this money. He ain't really never won nothing, so why not me? But this went from, Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you name it, Shaquille O'Neal. This went from a big man's league, Tim Duncan, David Robinson. This went from a big man dominating the league to now it's a guard and a wing league. You know what I'm saying? Now the wings and the ball handlers and the guards, they dominate the league now. And with that being the case, that makes, the five, expendable. So this is why you see Porzingis and Jokic and Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Davis now expanding their games to the three-point line so they don't get marginalized out the league. But now I think it's even more pressure for the Pistons to trade Andre Drummond. And with the fear of him opting in, they may have to take less. So we'll see, what really happens with Drummond. It seems like the Pistons are committed to tanking and committed to rebuilding as they should. They haven't really done so since acquiring Grant Hill in the draft, So we'll see. But it wouldn't surprise me if Drummond, he actually sat there and realized, like, damn, don't nobody really want me. You know what I'm saying? I might as well take this $30 million next year. I may not get that on the trade market. So, and also it may be a situation if the Pistons do want to keep him, they can keep him for the cheap, knowing that he kind of ranging the market through the trades they're trying to make, and see that he not worth it. But hey, it is what it is. Motor City Sports Talk. Don't forget, we on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Reach out to the email if you have a business question, inquiry, response to your video request. Keep sharing the videos. Want to make a donation to the channel? That link's in the description. Best way to donate is share the video. Don't forget, check my other channel out too, Goodfellas Sports TV. That's Goodfellas Sports TV right here on YouTube. Appreciate the love, support. One time for the one time. We gone.